Getting feedback on our creative work. It's something that we know we need to do, but it's a bit scary, isn't it? This video is about how to get amazingly good creative feedback. So in my early 20s, I made short films. That was the thing that I loved to do. It's the thing I wanted to get good at, but I was terrified of getting feedback. The idea of anyone's thoughts on my work mortified me. When we'd screen films, I'd hide away to avoid what people thought. Even if they thought it was good, I probably wouldn't have believed them anyway. Once we had a film shown in competition at a film festival. The judges went through and judged different aspects of the film. Guess which area scored the lowest? That's right, the writing. The bit I did. I mean, looking back, no wonder I wasn't progressing. No wonder I wasn't growing. I was in a feedback vacuum. Welcome to the feedback vacuum, the place where you don't know if anything that you do makes any difference whatsoever. When I was avoiding asking for feedback, of course I still wanted to improve and to progress, but in the absence of any other input, I was wholly dependent on my existing knowledge and perspectives, and that's why it felt like I was walking around in circles. Not only that, but of course in the absence of any other understanding of why perhaps my work wasn't landing as I wanted it to, I did the thing that us human beings are really, really good at. In the gap of not understanding something, I made up stories. Stories like, well, of course I'm rubbish and everything I make is crap. Or, on the other end of the spectrum, I'm a genius and they can't see it, they're all idiots. Not terribly helpful stuff. By avoiding asking for feedback, I was leaving on the table a whole host of benefits. Improving the work and my craft, developing relationships with other people, building an audience for my work who might encounter it when I share it with them. What kept me in the feedback vacuum was fear. I was afraid, and being afraid isn't a very empowering place to live and create from. So why is it the thought of getting feedback is so scary? Scary. Actually, that's a bit annoying. I'm going to change that. That's better. We human beings are very attuned to threat. It's served us well in the past, hasn't it, to be aware of physical threats like predators. Those weren't the only threats that we faced, of course. We also faced social threat. We depended for our survival to belonging to a group, and we became very aware of the individual behaviours that might mean that someone would be cast out of that group and be made vulnerable because the stakes were mortal. This is lizard brain stuff, and that still lives with us now, even though in the 21st century we are mostly lucky enough not to have to face those kinds of acute threats. When neuroscientists examined the brain activity of someone encountering social threat, they found that the person's physiological response, what was happening in their body, heightened heart rate, faster breathing, sweaty palms, was the same as if they were experiencing a physical threat. It's natural. And it's worth acknowledging that's what we're taking with us when we invite the judgment of other people, that lizard brain. For the receiver of feedback, there is only excommunication and death. We're a species whose very existence has been dependent on being afraid. The question is, are we going to let that fear get in the way of growing in the way we want to? These days, I'm a radical convert to the power of feedback. What changed? My idea of what feedback is and my relationship to it. Feedback is just information. I don't like to use the word critique or criticism. I think they can be quite problem focused on what's wrong, and they've developed, I think, a connotation for many of negativity, and I don't think that's very helpful. I also don't feel very comfortable with the idea of positive and negative feedback. A value judgment about that makes things also a bit difficult. For me, good feedback is simply information that helps the person do what they're trying to do better. And amazing feedback is getting that at exactly the right time. If we're seeking information that's going to help us to grow in whatever we're trying to create, then the place where we have the most influence about making that a useful exercise is feedback that is direct and invited. That is where good feedback happens. And to do that, we need to do three things. First up, we need to identify what is going to help. What is the information that you need right now that is going to help you improve or solve the problem that you're encountering? Sometimes that might be easier said than done. Sometimes we don't know what information we need. We just know that there's a problem. But there are ways to get clearer on what information could help. In their book, Thanks for the Feedback, Douglas Stone and Sheila Heen identified that there are three different types of feedback. There's appreciation, coaching, and evaluation. And understanding which of these might help you now will help you get closer to getting the information that you need. Appreciation or appreciative feedback draws attention to what is working well about something. Good appreciation is specific and genuine. It's not enough to say, oh yeah, I like that. Appreciation is that thing that you did there really stood out to me because it made me think or feel this thing. Coaching feedback helps develop our understanding of a problem and the possible solutions that we could implement. Good coaching feedback isn't someone saying, here's your problem and here's how you fix it. Good coaching feedback helps the person who's asking for feedback figure out that thing for themselves. Evaluative feedback helps us understand where we are in relation to something else. For example, you might ask of a piece of writing, I'm trying to make this scene as scary as a Stephen King book. Am I close? Sometimes it is useful to measure yourself against external markers, but the most important markers of evaluation are where we've come from and where we're trying to get to versus where we are right now. So reflecting on whether you need appreciation or coaching or evaluation can help you understand what information is going to be useful to you right now. The second step, once you understand the kind of information that you're going to find most useful, is to ask good questions of the right people. You need to help them help you, and you do that by framing the right questions. Personally, I'm often at a loss when someone says to me, here's the thing I made, what do you think? Because I don't know what they're looking for. I find it far more useful if someone says, what's really strong about this thing that I've made, which is appreciative feedback. Or this part of it isn't really working, but I'm not really sure why that is. Do you have any thoughts? That's kind of coaching feedback. Or I've been working on trying to up the pace in this scene that I'm writing. Is it any better than the version I had before? That's evaluation. Getting clearer on the information you need and the questions that are going to get you closer to that information helps you understand, well, who's the best person I can ask for this? It might be a peer who creates the same kind of work as you. It might be an expert in a particular area, or it might be someone completely random who can give you a totally outside view. Is it one other person, or is it a group of people you're asking for feedback? Third step, once you've asked good questions of the right people, is to create the right channel for that feedback to be shared. Have a think about how you best take on information. Do you need it written down? Do you need a discussion that helps you understand what that person is seeing? Then you can create the right space for that information to be shared. Maybe it's a face-to-face meeting. I find, for example, if I'm trying to solve something really big and fundamental about something I'm making, then I need a lot of space to have that kind of discussion, and I really value doing that face-to-face. Create the space that is going to be most useful for you for getting maximum value from that information. Of course, remember there's someone other than you involved in this process, so create the channel, create the space that works for both of you. And depending on the kind of questions you're asking, it could be really, really important to find that person who really gets you and what you are trying to create. So there we go. Give yourself the gift of getting amazing creative feedback. Identify the information you need, ask good questions of the right people, and create the channels that help you better understand what you need in order to improve. It will make a huge difference to your creative work and practice. Of course, getting feedback is only one part of it. That's why in the next video we're going to be looking at how you receive feedback and how to implement it.